Mexican government dismissed statements by U.S. President Donald Trump about military intervention in the country. COP30 to focus its debates on socio-environmental justice with a view to finding concrete actions to strengthen the health response of indigenous communities. And international organizations have warned that Sudan is experiencing an unprecedented crisis in which more than half of the population requires emergency humanitarian aid. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. We begin with Mexico. The government dismissed statements by U.S. President Donald Trump about military intervention in the country. During her morning press conference, President Claudia Sheinbaum dismissed the statements made by her U.S. counterpart, assuring that they will not allow any type of foreign interference in the fight against criminal groups in the country. The president confirmed that in matters of security, the federal government will cooperate with the United States without subordination and with respect for territorial sovereignty. The Mexican head of state mentioned that only Mexican security forces can operate within the territory.
In the conversations I have had with President Trump by phone, he has suggested on several occasions, or has said, we offer you military intervention by the United States in Mexico. Whatever you need to combat criminal groups. But I have told him on every occasion that we can collaborate, they can help us with the information they have, but we operate on our territory. We do not accept intervention from any foreign government. I have told them this by phone, we have said it through the State Department, with Marco Rubio, and they have understood.
In other news, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, received the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman at the White House. On Tuesday, the President will meet with the Saudi Crown Prince in Washington as part of an official working visit ordered by the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman. It is expected that the parties will address issues related to cooperation agreements and the strengthening of various areas of common interest. The visit is considered a new chapter between the two nations, with the main objective of striving for a shared vision of the Middle East, its security and stability. During this meeting between Trump and bin Salman, the U.S. President reaffirmed his desire to talk to the Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro for the third time. When asked by journalists, Trump acknowledged the interest of President Maduro in establishing a dialogue as well. However, Trump immediately proceeded to enumerate his complaints against Venezuela based on a false narrative that has raised tensions in the region, marked by the recent deployment of U.S. military forces in the Caribbean as part of a supposed anti-drug operation. Also in the United States, the House of Representatives passed a bill on Tuesday to compel the Justice Department to release all its records related to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The measure, approved by an overwhelming majority of the House with only one vote against, got another push over the weekend when President Donald Trump reversed his position and urged Republicans to support it. Hours later, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer requested unanimous consent to pass the measure in the upper chamber. After the bill is sent to the Senate, it will go straight to President Donald Trump to be signed into law. According to the documents already released, Epstein socialized with other millionaires and celebrities such as President Trump, who attended his parties and took photos at social events. Now we go to Cuba. The Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez denounced the United States government's lies and threats against Venezuela with the objective of destabilizing the peace in the Bolivarian nation and the region. The top Cuban diplomat expressed an axe. We denounce the lies of the U.S. State Department, which, under the leadership of its corrupt and compulsive liar, Secretary of State, attempts to justify a military aggression against Venezuela with false pretext. In plain sight of everyone and with the support of the media, they seek to normalize and legitimize the aggression against the sovereign nation. As a dishonest ploy, they attempt to involve the legitimate Venezuelan president, Nicolás Maduro, in drug trafficking and terrorism, two serious international scourges that have only been promoted in this region by the United States government, its intelligence and drug agencies, and by individuals associated with all those politicians in Florida who call for attacks on the Venezuelan territory. And the Coordinating Bureau of the Non-Aligned Movement, NAM, through a communique, raised alarms over the dangerous military escalation unfolding in the Caribbean and against Venezuela. The communique refers the Coordinating Bureau of the Non-Aligned Movement, NAM, while reaffirming the content of its communique of September 19, 2025, and the Special Declaration of October 16, 2025, expresses its deep concern at the continued escalation of tensions in the Caribbean region in light of an increased military buildup of extra-regional forces in the region that now includes, on top of assets with nuclear capability, the presence of the world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford. The statement also reiterates the Coordinating Bureau of the Non-Aligned Movement calls upon extra-regional powers to exercise maximum restraint to avoid provocative statements as well as aggressive and inflammatory rhetoric, and to both cease any further hostile actions and desist once and for all from the irresponsible and reckless conduct, including the conduction of airstrikes against small fishermen boats in the Caribbean and now also the Pacific, and instead to resort to dialogue, diplomacy, and multilateral mechanisms as the only sustainable path for addressing, through peaceful means and cooperation, any issue of common interest or concern. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro highlighted the country's scientific development during the Science, Technology and Innovation Awards ceremony in Caracas. From the Teresa Carreño Theater, 137 scientists received special recognition as part of the 20th National Science, Technology and Innovation Awards, Dr. Humberto Fernández Morán, from President Nicolás Maduro himself. In this regard, the President affirmed that Venezuela has an organized and articulated scientific community of more than 60,000 top-level scientists. On the other hand, the President emphasized that Venezuela is not thinking about manufacturing atomic bombs or weapons of mass destruction, but rather advancing the cure for different diseases, putting science at the service of life and the well-being of the people.
Today we have a scientific community that is articulated, organized from 67,000 scientific men and women of the first level in the world in Venezuelan territory.
In this context, in this event, President Nicolás Maduro also assured that Venezuela is on its way to becoming a major center of scientific creation, innovation and technology applied to life, peace and development.
We are not thinking of creating atomic bombs to launching them or mass destruction weapons. No, we are thinking as how to heal cancer in its different ways. We are thinking of how to control dengue, chikungunya, and we're doing it. We're thinking how to reverse sickness as diabetes.
And also in Venezuela, churches in the country and the United States joined together in prayer for peace. A binational prayer for peace event was held at the Miraflores Palace, attended by President Nicolás Maduro, who emphasized the spiritual unity of Christian churches. During the event, the head of state greeted the evangelical congregations and their pastors, highlighting the role of churches as a source of strength for the nation. In this regard, the president recalled a letter sent by an American pastor who expressed support for joint prayers and concern about threats issued by the U.S. government. President Maduro emphasized that the purpose of the meeting is to reaffirm values of truth and life, as well as to strengthen the unity of the peoples around faith.
The evangelical and Christian churches are my refuge and strength in this time of tribulation for the nation. I called on them and they came to me. They called me and I have always been with you. We are more united than ever today, and I thank you, pastors, people of God and of Christ, for your spiritual support. It is the greatest of all. The spiritual power is the greatest power we can have. There is no other power that can do everything like spiritual power, which is the power of God.
The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, also emphasized the unity of faith between the Venezuelan and American peoples in favor of peace.
There are 40 million Latin Americans and Caribbean people living there, and many of them are members of evangelical and Christian churches. They are radicalized with Christ and stand in solidarity with Venezuela. He tells me, I want to inform you officially that all the sister churches of our congregation in the United States have decided to join together in a large chain of prayer with churches in Venezuela tomorrow at 6 p.m., the time in both countries. Today, precisely, Tuesday, November 18th, we are united in prayer with the churches of Venezuela and the United States.
The 30th United Nations Climate Conference, COP30, focused its debates on socio-environmental justice in the search for concrete actions to strengthen the health response of indigenous communities. The forum's agenda for Tuesdays addresses the defense of indigenous rights in the heart of the Amazon and new climate narratives on a day when Brazil will encourage decisive action and community participation. Meanwhile, the panel Indigenous Health in the Climate Agenda, Health, Territory and Socio-Environmental Justice will examine how the lack of essential infrastructure aggravates the vulnerability of thousands of indigenous communities to climate change. The debates of this day are linked to the Belém Health Action Plan, a document that Brazil presented as a turning point in international climate policy. An elite interests from the global north are using COP30 to promote green capitalism, but social movement activists are pushing back. Our correspondent Brian Meir has more.
I'm in the Blue Zone. It's one of two huge conference areas that has been set up for COP30 here in Belém, and there's a lot of activities going on today. On the multilateral level, Brazil's President Lula is urging each participating nation to create a roadmap for the transition to renewable energy with clear-cut goals and delivery dates that everyone can agree on. Meanwhile, the social movements and the indigenous peoples who participated in the People's Climate Summit, an alternative event at the Federal University of Pará that ended on Sunday, are now doing everything they can to occupy space here within COP30 and make their demands be heard by the rich and powerful who are running this conference. Capitalism, they say, is the main cause for the climate crisis. That's why it's important to make structural transitions to abandon the current production and consumption models in a path towards socialism. They think that's in direct conflict with the advocates of green capitalism, the oil and mining industry lobbyists who are here, for example, outnumbering indigenous participants by 2-1 in this year's COP30. And so they've been participating in different seminars and forums here within COP30. And tonight there's going to be a big press conference in which representatives of the People's Climate Summit will present the list of demands that was collectively created in a democratic assembly last Friday to the international press.
After this report, we have a second short break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, we'll be right back. Welcome back to From the South. International organizations have warned that Sudan is experiencing an unprecedented crisis in which more than half of the population requires emergency humanitarian aid. The organizations pointed out that international humanitarian law is being violated in Sudan amid displacement and also famine as a result of the conflict between the Sudanese armed forces and the paramilitary support forces. The Danish Refugee Council reported that during the escalation, arrests, kidnappings and torture have been reported in that country. It should be noted that currently the fighting is concentrated in the capital of Sudan, Khartoum, and in the Darfur region, which is under control of the RSF. In other topics, the third Global South Academic Forum concluded its activities in Shanghai, bringing together experts and academics from diverse regions to analyze the contemporary challenges of the Global South, discuss history, and strengthen cooperation among countries of the Global South. Our correspondent in the country, Bruno Falsi, brings us more details.
Shanghai hosted more than 250 specialists from 21 countries for the third edition of the Global South Academic Forum. The meeting highlighted the anti-fascist victory, the sacrifice of China and Russia, and reinforced the historical solidarity of the Global South reflected in shared discussions and projects.
This collaboration then is a significant one in a sense that here you don't only have the Chinese, you've got Africans, Latin Americans, we have Europeans, Japanese, South Koreans and other people from this region who are here because they have a common goal of advancing our understanding of how we can improve the human condition, and that is what brings everybody here. So by and large, this is a show of solidarity. It's a manifestation of collaboration, and we're looking forward to doing more with all these partners who are here from over 21 countries across the world.
The forum facilitated the exchange of experience in family farming and technology, showing how cooperation with Chinese universities strengthens sustainable production, technological innovation, and the revitalization of rural communities.
Para o MST também há uma importância porque
This is also important for the MSD, because the MSD here in China has established various partnerships with universities, especially the Agricultural University, in search of technologies so that we can advance in appropriate agricultural mechanization, in family farming, but also in bio-inputs that enhance the production of our crops.
potencializa as produções das nossas lavouras.
The battle of ideas, media concentration, cultural imperialism, and the challenges of artificial intelligence were discussed, underscoring the need to strengthen independent channels and content in the region.
Communications war, there are multiple fronts, like the battle of ideas. It's a very complicated concept, right? We're talking not just about journalism or media in the traditional sense of the term. We're also talking about say TV shows. They're also part of communications in a larger sense. We're talking, for instance, about social media, of course, forms part of it, but we're talking about a variety of cultural products, all of which come under the sector of communications. And we need to think about that in those terms, because the fundamental question before us is how are, especially young people, making sense of the world today, right? And that is through a variety of platforms which did not exist in the past and which are largely captured by the imperialist forces.
The meeting concluded by highlighting the solidarity of the Global South as a coordinated action, promoting the exchange of experience, innovation and collaboration among countries to build a more just and multipolar world order. Bruno Falsi, Shanghai, China, for teleSUR.
In other topics, Russia and the member countries of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization have carried out over 97% of the payment operations in national currencies. During a meeting with the Russian organization, the Russian President Vladimir Putin stressed the importance of boosting national currencies constantly. He assured that trade operations between its members can allow the market and national currencies to grow. Regarding the work agenda, the head of state commented on the expansion of the payment infrastructure to continue working on the growth of the global economy with the aim of consolidating a multipolar world. In this context, the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, has stressed the importance of consolidating the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as a pillar of the new multipolar world order in order to develop an inclusive international trade system.
Dear Prime Minister, I am pleased to meet with you again in Moscow. We have just met with members of the Council of Heads of Government of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization to analyze the development prospects of this important, prominent, and prestigious international platform. The close Russian-Chinese cooperation in this format helps the organization consolidate itself as a pillar of the multipolar world order, promote the inclusion of global South states, and advance the development of an open. Helps the organization consolidate itself as a pillar of the multipolar world order, promote the inclusion of global South states.
We have come, like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.